Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, welcome to the March 13th, 2021 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with me, Shelley Overton. I am an astrologer in Central Florida. I want to welcome you this week. We are going to go over the planetary aspects and talk a little bit about the interview with the Queen, or not the Queen, with Oprah and Harry and Meghan, and how it relates to the Queen. So let's get started. I'm looking at the chart now. It's 5:55 p.m. Eastern, about 1 hour, maybe 50 minutes before the moon goes into Aries. The moon's at 29 degrees Pisces, and I'm going to give it my best shot for the third or fourth time. I've lost track of recording this podcast. So we have a 15-degree Virgo rising here, and we've got all the Pisces planets in the seventh house. So we've got Venus at 20 conjunct Neptune at 20 Pisces. We've got the Sun at 23 Pisces, and we've got the Moon at 29 degrees Pisces. So this morning at about 5:21 Eastern, the Moon joined up with the Sun and created a new moon. Very good for creating something new. The Moon, the last time I did this recording was about 1 o'clock, and the Moon was in sextile to Pluto at that time. But now it is maybe 30 minutes of astrological time from moving into a new sign. And we're really wrapping up the energy in Pisces. We're wrapping up the creative, hidden, dreamy, exhausted energy of Pisces. And that's really what this stellium in Pisces brings out. It brings out creativity. It brings out sentimentality, a wistful energy, like dreamy, magical, esoteric, not connected to the earth. It can be a little addictive. I've got my coffee because it's kind of late in the afternoon. I think I've told you before, I'm not really good doing podcasts late in the afternoon, but nonetheless, we're going to get it out because that's my commitment to you. And we've got Mars at 5 degrees Gemini, about 9 degrees off of the 14-degree North Node and 14-degree Sagittarius South Node. And we've got Mercury at 27 degrees of Aquarius, and that's an inconjunct to the energy of Pluto at 26 degrees Capricorn. Saturn's at 9 degrees of Aquarius, inconjunct to Venus, sort of. Not exact, but it's kind of just moving out of an exact inconjunct, although my program shows it as inconjunct. I think I've set it up for an 8-degree orb, meaning whatever the aspect is, add 8 degrees either side, and that's the range, the orb or arc of aspect. That means within those degrees, 8 degrees either side, that aspect affects us. So Venus joining Neptune. Venus is about desire, about beauty, about love, about money and materiality of things. It is about retail and reselling things, goods, merchandise, that kind of thing. It is about getting value for the money and joining up with Neptune, which is actually kind of Venus on steroids in some respects. Venus is desire. Neptune is imagination. It is kind of taking desire to the next step in creating addiction and illusion. So we have the idea of illusion with Neptune, which is how I learned it all those years ago, but it is also an observational energy. Neptune rules Pisces, and if anything, I've learned recently that, I shouldn't say recently, but I've connected it recently, let's put it that way. My daughter has Mercury in Pisces, and ever since she was born, she would always sit back and observe people around her and kind of look for cues as to how to behave in social situations. So recently, that word really rose up for me when I thought about what Pisces is about. It's very observational energy. we sit back and we look at others, we observe how behavior is and what we will do about it, but we don't necessarily communicate those feelings or what we observe. But we do observe, and that's something I think that we can really integrate in the Pisces energy, is knowing this from that observation. We can sit back and go, okay, I understand this and I'm intuiting it, and now I'm integrating it into who I am. And I'm not necessarily judging it, because Pisces is the opposite of Virgo. Virgo is more of a critical, analytical energy, whereas Pisces is much more accepting, sage, wise energy. Virgo is learning and teaching, and Pisces and Neptune energy is more about, I've been there, I've done that. I'm not as engaged anymore in that particular need to analyze or criticize, but much more accepting and loving and embracing of whatever comes my way. And so it's a very laid back, some say lazy, I say accepting and chill. But I guess I'm a little bit biased because I have Saturn at 0 Pisces. So I understand this from a life purpose standpoint. I understand at least my toe is in the water because of 0 degrees Pisces. My energy is focused, the career energy is focused on a very, very early degree of Pisces. Whereas by progression, because my Saturn is retrograde, it's in Aquarius at 28 degrees right now. And so I would say, being an astrologer, definitely Aquarius rules astrology. We can integrate the energy of Aquarius with a late degree Saturn in Aquarius, or even early degree Saturn in Aquarius. You know, astrology is definitely coming more out into the commonplace, which it does every 30 years, you know. 30 years ago, I'm trying to think, that was like 1990. But also 30 years before that was like the 60s, the peace, love, and hippie, and, you know, what's your sign? Also, it went into the 70s. But I'm trying to think. Neptune was in Virgo all that time. And then, so Neptune can also give us this sense of, you know, the hippie culture, the, you know, peace, love, and drugs, make love, not war kind of mentality, the boho energy that's coming up. It also rules over things like Etsy. As far as businesses, it's into photography. It's into the filters that go with photography to make things rosy and dreamy and self-focused. It is videography, storytelling through that type of media. It is creativity. It is the humanities. Any way we can express ourselves creatively kind of falls under the Pisces umbrella. And then really that connectedness that we all have in a spiritual sense. We're all part of the same collective group of intuitive mindset. And
all right, so we're going to try and continue on. I don't know if there is any sound with this. I really hope there is. Anyway, if there isn't, we're just going to call it a day. So it is now 8 o'clock, and we're going to finish up what we've been talking about for the week. So we talked about our new moon and all the planets in Pisces, and really initiating some new creative energy with what's going on planetarily. And so, you know, Pisces is an end sign. It's at the end degrees. So there is a wrapping up energy around Pisces right now. And that means old creative endeavors may be wrapped up because the end degrees, but then there's an initiation of an understanding around that old story. And we can take off on a new tangent with spirit and have this spirit guided energy coming in with the new moon. Moon is always associated with home and nurturing and connectedness to mother and family. That is always part of it. So it is feminine energy associated with the moon, associated with Pisces right now with the moon new in Pisces. And of course, the sun was right there this morning as well. So it is ego, it is male, female, it is culmination of an old story because the end degrees, but it's also the initiation of a new story around learning something new as far as spiritual and connectedness to spirit. It could be the angelic realm, it could be something that's artistic, or something from the past, feeling like we're bringing in old energy that we've been familiar with, and it squares the energy of the north and south node, which is what is in the past and what is in the future. And so the past being Sagittarius, squaring all the Pisces energy. It is about education, about transformation, about expansion, and definitely learning something, growing from something, but also keeping things fresh and keeping things moving. So it doesn't give us a chance to get really deep. And also Gemini is very much up in the air energy, the mind, the quickness. Neither sign, Gemini nor Sagittarius, really are the same kind of energy of Pisces, and it squares Pisces. So obviously the opposite, Virgo, is included in this cross between Gemini, Sagittarius nodes, and then Pisces energy. So to balance out some of that weepy, ethereal, dreamy, illusional energy, we ground with Virgo. We go to the earth. We find our place in nature, or we do things in the physical. We organize, we get planners. We can also teach, which is very cooperative with the Sagittarius energy from the past. And the energy of Pisces when it comes to education is that we learn about spirit and spirituality. So let's see what else we have here. I'm going to keep it fairly quick because if this doesn't record, I don't want to have a lot of stuff I've mentioned and then not have it record. Okay, so Saturday today was the new moon. Tomorrow is daylight savings time, and the energy of Mars in Gemini is in positive aspect to the moon in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So positive actions and communication taken tomorrow, very masculine drive coming in with Gemini and Aries. And then the moon would be around home and family and boys or men, or masculine energy expressed out through ideas, but action taken from ideas. So it could be educational, but it could also be constructive. So just keep an eye out for that. Monday is going to be a square in the middle of the afternoon between the energy of moon in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn. I don't even have my chart up right now. Let me just get the charts going. Here we go. And so, yeah, Monday we'll have more of the friction of the Aries versus Pluto energy, which is, contentious. We're going to see some contention. George Floyd, the trial of the person who inflicted the stranglehold on him with his knee, he's going to trial. I don't know the specifics of that. But that's going to happen next week, and definitely if something goes on with that Monday, it's going to be very contentious. Tuesday, we have the moon entering Taurus, and so for a couple days after that, we have the moon sextile to Mercury in Pisces, and also the sun sextile to Pluto. Moon in Taurus also joins up with Uranus on Tuesday, so it's about visions and the daydreams, and also builder energy. We're creating the vision and making it manifest. Wednesday is St. Patrick's Day, so happy St. Patrick's Day. Also, I forgot to mention, or maybe I did, but I don't remember. Daylight savings on Sunday, so overnight from when I am right now, by the time you see this, it'll be daylight savings. So we'll have a little extended time in the evening, which will be really nice. And spring is definitely in the air. St. Patrick's Day on Wednesday, one of my favorite holidays. It's very spring oriented and Irish energy, and I have a great grandmother who was born on St. Patrick's Day, so I have a particular affinity for that energy. And if you get a chance, I don't think I mentioned it in this recording, but go check out the Gardner Brothers, Gardiner brothers on Instagram and TikTok. They're really awesome. They actually took a suggestion of mine for some music in one of their latest videos and did a little step dancing dance to Reel Around the Sun. They actually are in Riverdance, or were when COVID hit, and I suggested they do a dance to that because I like the song, not because I've seen Riverdance, but it turns out it's the first song from Riverdance when you open the show. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, let's see, Moon in Gemini on Thursday. So we've got the Moon in Gemini, and of course Mars will be in Gemini. So the 19th, and yeah, on the 19th, look for that Gemini energy. So it can be duplicity, or it can be two choices, or it can say we take an action and then we have to do the action twice. But it's about education and transportation. So also be very cautious when we have the moon joining up with Mars, because it's like the energy of it dictates an outcome. And so, Mars, very fast, forward moving energy, driven, and Aries energy, which is ruled by Mars, tends to just jump in, wholeheartedly. But then we also have Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. And so the action may come in before our thoughts have processed, or our thoughts will be ahead of us, and then the action we take is trying to catch up with our thoughts, and then there can be a disconnect. So just be a little more cautious on Friday the 19th. I'm going to stop there with that, except for Saturday is the spring equinox, which also is International Astrology Day. We'll talk about that, Sun in Aries. And then Sunday is Venus entering Aries. So we're coming into that stronger drive part of the year. And then we'll talk about that more next week. And then Sunday is my daughter's birthday. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, let's see if we can see really quickly what's going on with the interview. I've done this, like I said, this is the third time I've talked about this, so I'm going to try and be really succinct and not talk too long about this with Prince Harry's interview and the Queen, and how that whole thing went and what the response is. But I'm interested in looking at the Queen's chart, because the Queen is coming on in years. She's getting closer to the end of her life. And of course, there's always the family around her that seems to give her some of her biggest issues. But she has a 21-degree Capricorn rising, so that puts Pluto just inside the first house. And that happened a few years ago. Pluto went in, it's about 2 degrees a year, so it's 5 degrees into her first house, and that means about 2.5 years ago, she experienced that major shift with Pluto. And, Capricorn rising, I have a friend who's a Capricorn rising, and Capricorn suns are really, they've had it pretty difficult with that Pluto. I think Gemini and Leo and Capricorn have had probably the most difficult time. Maybe a little bit of Cancer, being an opposite sign to Capricorn, but really the signs that are feeling it mostly, I would say, are Gemini and Leo in conjunct energy to when the transit of Pluto hits. And then, of course, the generation who's mid 70s to 80s, they're the ones who have Pluto in Leo. So it's in late degrees, especially around the late 50s. If you're born in the late 50s, you have a late degree Pluto in Leo, and so you've been feeling this Pluto coming through. Anyway, the Queen has it in her first house, and so that is major upheavals around how she views the structure of authority and also the systems associated with duty and structure. She has Mars and Jupiter in her first house in Aquarius, so definitely taking action, also how she integrates the idea of what's going on and the energy of moving forward is very quick. Like, she will assess, make a decision, and move on. And it's interesting, I'm watching The Crown, and a lot of what they say about that energy is very similar to Mars Jupiter conjunct in Aquarius in the first house. Charles made mention on the episode last night, which takes place, I think, around 1990, 1992, when he was having trouble with his marriage to Princess Diana. He said, oh, this is typical, let's just recognize the issue. Now we have a solution quick without really talking to anyone, and now the whole conversation is done. Let's move on. That is very much the energy of Mars Jupiter in the first house, because Jupiter doesn't want to stick around going over and over things, and Aquarius is very quick to understand and then does move on as well. Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, all sitting right on her Mars-Jupiter conjunction. Saturn is the authority energy, having to reassess how she interacts with this new and changing energy that's coming in. Jupiter, she's almost in a Jupiter return. It's 4 degrees away from her natal Jupiter at 22, so 18-degree Jupiter in Aquarius. That is understanding, learning, growth, education, and quick in the mind, quick to understand. And then how does it relate to her? How can we keep the peace and the mental acuity and the mental clarity with what's going on? Mercury also brings in that same kind of mental acuity, communication. So we're going to go over all the details we need to understand, give back the details we've figured out, and move on, because Mercury, 2 degrees off of Jupiter, sitting right on Mars, getting the understanding quickly, moving on. Now, Harry is the energy of Mars in her house, home, and family for this interview. He's talking, so Mars and Gemini. He's communicating, he's giving a point of view. There are 2 points of view, even within Harry's own life. Obviously there's his point of view and Meghan's point of view, but then there's also his point of view and the family's point of view. And he may even behave one way to the public and one way to the family. So he's kind of both energies in that Mars. Then we go over to Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury. I think that really, and then Mars, that's on her natal Mars. Her natal Mars in Aquarius is very much Prince Charles. And he brings in that energy of community. And that the Mars joined Jupiter. He's got the diplomacy, so does the Queen. But we do see our children in our own charts. And so Mars in the first house, she does have a connection to her male children, but she can also be detached. And the Mars conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius in the first house definitely shows a detachment from the boys, where in her marriage, though, she has Moon, Neptune conjunct in the 7th house, so she very much relies on her husband and the dynamic of the connection to her husband. As far as what's going on with Harry, there is an opposition that just kind of passed from being an exact opposition of Mars to her natal Saturn at her midheaven. She has that restriction of career, but her Saturn falls in the 9th house, which answers to Jupiter. So she does have kind of a loop of energy going, and a square as well as a loop, a closed energy between Saturn in Scorpio at 24 and Jupiter in Aquarius at 22. So the duty is there, but she errs on the side of freedom around psychology and doesn't want to engage as deeply in the self-observation, at least in the public eye. Saturn in Scorpio retrograde, she is going back over some energy throughout her life. It's about reiterating what just happened with the diplomacy and the connectedness to other countries and other cultures. So I do think that she is more broad-minded than people realize about other cultures and how she integrates who she is with different races, because her chart, Saturn in late degrees Scorpio, I have a friend who has that almost that exact degree and extremely passionate about justice, and I think the Queen probably is that way. She shows concern in public life at times, but probably not with Princess Diana. So we could go over those 2 charts together another time, the synastry or the compatibility of those 2 charts. But as far as what she's experiencing in her life right now, she's got that Pluto, which is major upheaval around how she sees things, how she sees herself in the world place. How does she see her value on the world stage? And that's going to only dig deeper in the next couple of years as Pluto gets further along. I'm going to wrap it up now. I had a lot more in this analysis, but I just don't want to get cut off again. And I'm hoping against hope that there is some sound with this, and we can get this up tonight. If there isn't, then I suppose I'll just put up what I've got. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again next week for a deeper look at Aries. Okay, take care. Bye. Love you.
I got little sparkles on my face. Okay, whatever.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, ShelleyOverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.